Hey everyone, Lone Wolf Jet here. Now, like I said in my previous video, that um, now I'm making these. I'm probably gonna start making more Honkai videos on Fridays. Probably Elysian Realm video, followed by a story. Uh, but for now, I'm just gonna be doing because thing is, the other videos I make on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the personal videos, a lot of them are coming off as rants, and that was the old Jedi, and I'm not that kind of a person anymore. So, and plus, there's a lot of shit that's been going around these days that's really been pissing me off. But it's mostly people who are what's considered the very vocal minority. So, yeah. For now, I'm just gonna stick to doing some of these videos. Maybe the occasional real life video, occasional review of something and whatnot. But for the most part, yeah, just these. Anyway, I might do an occasional. Uh, Honkai video on a Friday, but for now, it's pretty much mostly gonna be the gaming videos. And yeah. So with that being said, let's get. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna finish up the Fallen Rosemary event. So, okay, as you can tell, I've got the shop just pretty much cleared out. I mean, there's the only thing that's left is that Flora de Mal option, which I've already left the Flora de Mal um, outfit for um, uh, Black Nucleus Bronya. So, damn, that still looks really nice. And let's go right back into the case records and let's finish this off. Let's finish this whole thing up. Oh, by the way, the Chinese version has voices in some of the major spots, but I don't have the Chinese activated. Do you think you're ready now to tell? Do you think you're now ready to tell me, Dr. Einstein? What is this Omega 2 that Mr. Joyce had been tracing these years? I lean forward while the blue-haired lady on the other side of the table is impassively staring at me in the eye. Moments later, she let out a deep sigh as if she just decided to give up something important. You won, Doctor. What I'm about to tell you is the biggest secret of Lab 42 of Shixal Imperial Institute. I trust you, but please don't put me in certain circumstances that require me to take drastic measures. I'm confident about my ability to keep secrets. You don't have to worry about that. To be honest, I'm surprised and flattered that you agreed to reveal the secret to me without much hesitation. So many people have died. I had no other choice. By the way, the list of people that have died, as far as I know, is only 2. Because you got uh, Jackal and Raven, which I'm like, world servant people. And I'd like to know that what secrets are hidden behind this incident too. In that case, I'm all ears. Do you know that Walt used to be an assistant at Lab 42? Of course, everyone knows. But what do you know about his past before he joined Lab 42? Now that you mention it, I drew that there is no intel about Walt Joyce's past. Give me a moment, folks. I'm going to take off my sweater here. It's kind of warm. Alright. It's because of the Institute's strict intel control measures. Walt used to be the Institute's top secret sample before he was transferred to Lab 42. So basically, they're telling the story of how Walt started off as, being experimental for being a harsher, and then ended up being a member of Anti-Entropy. Sample? Yes, sample of an experiment, codename Omega 1. Omega 1? You don't even know his real identity. I can't reveal it anyway, but I can tell you the Omega 2 welt had been tracing. Were the only two copies of Omega 1 that the Institute had successfully made back when the welt served as a sample. The only two copies? Wait a sec. The only two copies? Wait a sec. Does that mean Joffrey? You're indeed incisive, Doctor. Yes, the boy whom you just met is one of the two copies. Who thought this is what direct descendant really means? But unfortunately, those two boys do not get Walt's powers. Powers? Don't mind that. In short, as they failed to meet expectations, these decided to dispose of Omega 2. Upon learning this, Walt intervened with the influence of Lab 42 and managed to protect one of them at last. But the other one went missing ever since. I see. So Mr. Joyce acquired the intel that this missing Omega 2 was last seen in St. Fountain. Unfortunately, when he acquired the intel, the cataclysm had already struck. So he led Lab 42 to St. Fountain, not just to fight against the disaster, but also to investigate the whereabouts of Omega 2. Correct. Our informant in the Institute told us that the cause of the cataclysm had something to do with a certain experiment, but we couldn't find any records of the participants, any tales of the experiment. So that's why these two hired outsiders to conduct the experiment. What did you say? Sorry. There was a timely knock on the door. It's open. I ended this conversation before Dr. Einstein could ask any more questions. Oops. Am I interrupting you two? What's wrong, Irene? I just came to inform you that Zora just woke up. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit of a fight here with Sarah. Is this the one? Yeah. Wait. Thunder's Tail and the D-Rex set. It's been a while since you've Swallowtail Phantasm, Sarah. When I saw Sora, Joffrey was sitting by her bed. To my surprise, it was his stepsister Bronya who was with him rather than Dr. Tesla. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Bronya. Where's Dr. Tesla? She is still studying the data about the Phantom, but Joy was checking on Sora. Bronya, there's something I'd like to talk about with the doctor. Can you take Joffrey somewhere else for a minute? Sure. Come on, Joey. Joffrey took Bronya's hand and they went out together. Seeing this made me begin to doubt my assumption. From what I saw, they were as close as siblings, blood ties. Can't imagine she came to fight for the inheritance. Joaquin told me that Bronya cared deeply about a little girl in an orphanage, but she made it a disaster. Yeah, we all know that's Sele. Joey's tragedy cannot be known, and it was usually really weak that walking was impossible until recently. It's the first time Bronya has seen him in 5 years. Maybe she was reminded of some fond memories. Sora, how do you feel? Sir, I'm much better now. Sora's eyes were dull, her voice weak, and her face washed by tears. Apparently she had learned Raven's death. Mind if I ask you a few questions? She nodded softly, and I pulled a chair close to her bed to sit down. Could you tell me what happened last night? From the blackout until now? Alright, but I can't remember some of it. And I had this weird dream. It's okay. Still, she still remember. Last night, after the blackout, I felt someone grab me from behind. I screamed and tried to break free, but then something hit me in the head, and I passed out. Then, I don't know how long had passed, but I was somewhere else when I woke up. A small alley, I think. My hands and feet were all tied up. I tried to scream for help, but my mouth was stuffed with a rag. I struggled to get up and look around, and then I saw him. He was in a black cloak, and his face was behind a mask. He had stood there in the rain, and he didn't say anything. Gray Serpent. I wanted to ask him who he was, why he took me, but my head was swimming, and I couldn't see clearly, and so I was frowning and wrestling with her memory. I waited quietly for her to continue, and then he took out a knife and began to wipe it. One swipe, 2, 3. My mind wanted to escape. My head was so dizzy and all I could think of was sleep. Dizzy? Gray Serpent drugged her? No. I ran a brief test on her last night. No residuals of anesthetic chemicals was found. After all, this man finished wiping a knife and turned to me. I was scared to death, but I tried, but I couldn't even scream loud. He walked to me and lifted his knife. I held my breath for what came next. Just then, Sensei. She showed up. Oh? So she made it just in time. Sora then looked away, keeping her tear-filled face from us. Sensei. She saved me. She fought the masked man hard. I never saw her so angry. Then what? What did you see after? The masked man was losing, and Sensei knocked him down. Sora's recall had matched my assumptions so far, but it was the next words that really mattered. Who killed your sensei and wrote the word in blood? I didn't see. I fell asleep. Asleep? After Sensei beat down the bad guy, she walked to me. Once I knew we were safe, I couldn't hold back the sleepiness any longer. My eyelids became heavier and heavier. When did you wake up? Just right now in this room. Bro was taking care of me. She told me Sensei. I can't remember anything before. Nothing at all? No. But I had a weird dream when I was asleep. Dream? What kind of dream? In the dream, I became someone else. A girl dressed in blue. Sele. This is uncanny. Right when we found Jackal's body, I seemed to have seen a girl in blue too. The girl seemed very sad, and I started to feel sad too. The girl, did she do anything to you? No. In the dream, I was her. Also, I saw a man holding my hand in the pouring rain. But I couldn't see his face clearly. He kept saying something, but I couldn't understand. It's just a bad dream, right, Doctor? When I wanted to comfort her, I was struck by a violent dizziness. This is not the first time. When I opened my eyes again, Sora, Irie, and Dr. Einstein were all gone. All I could see was an azure shadow. Find me. Stop it. The girl in blue whispered so, and then I became her. Jackal, what did you do to Joffrey? Easy now, Joaquin. Joffrey's modification debugging are almost done. Testing is in order now. But he's just a kid. Keeping research is cool. He's just a test subject, a means to achieve the end. Jackal and Joaquin. Jackal's pretty much the same, but Joaquin seems a lot younger. They seem to be fighting over Joffrey. Joffrey? Why would this name come up here? I see a gray serpent and a raven. You're leaving? Of course. I've done my part. Got paid. No reason for me to linger. Stay, witness history. History? What else that have to do? What else that have to do with me? What does that have to do with me? Still the raven I know. It's Bronya. Joey, are you alright? They say I'm sick, and it's bad. Is it true, Mr. Lucky? You're not sick. Trust me, everything will be fine. Sick? What happened to him? Oh, you're talking to Bronya. Shh. I think Joey's not getting treatment. You can't trust anyone from the church. Not even Mr. Joaquin. Don't worry. I'll keep you both safe. Okay, looks like the only person here is, well, Sally. I was there once again, but this time it became much more realistic. I opened my eyes and found two small, soft hands which clearly belonged to the unnamed girl. I had no doubt what I just saw was something about the tests that took place 5 years ago. Why? Why would this strange memory come to me? Whose memory is this? If it's a girl who was sharing it with me, then what purpose is it for? With a million questions, I slowly walked to the azure shadow in the darkness. The rose is red, the violet is blue. Mary is sweet, and so are you. The rose is red, and Mary is blue. We were deceived, and so are you. She never turned around to face me, only singing this familiar nursery rhyme again and again in a whipping voice. I picked up my pace, trying to catch up, but the harder I tried, the further she got away, and all of a sudden, I was cast out from this dream world. Okay. Alright. What is it? Doctor's right. The incision on the body could only have been made by someone much shorter. We can't let her know this. It's too cruel for a child. We were in an empty utility room in the underground lab of the mansion, which is now a bit crowded due to the 3 corpses lying side by side. Have you checked Mrs. Joyce's body in the treatment room next door? Yes, I have. It's indeed him. And I've checked all vital signs. He's dead for real. I'm curious. Did you already suspect Sora before you visited her today? Just a simple guess based on the position of the scarlet were on the wall. It was almost level with Raven's head, who died sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall. An adult of normal height would need to bend over or squat down to write the word, which would not be a comfortable posture for writing. But the word was obviously written smoothly, which means the writer of the word was likely to be the same height as a child, and there happened to be a child on the scene. It's common sense. It's common sense, not a law, so it cannot be used as evidence in legal procedure. You're witty as ever, Doctor. Though the process of your reasoning follow facts and common sense, the deduction you've reached sounds improbable. Okay, so I was wrong with the number of dead bodies. There's a third dead body, and it's Joyce. I agree with Miss Adler. Your deduction this time is just implausible. Do you really think the perpetrator of the serial killings is a phantom? I'm not sure, Hua. Those who doubt always try to fit their own guesses into facts, but I deduce from facts and see if my deductions fit. This is what I've deduced from the facts known to us. As I talk, I bend over and sniff Grey Serpent's body. So I was right after all. I think we can skip the reasoning and directly identify the murderer. But I need you to help me with something first. The air is filled with a delicate flow of scent. Yes, this is the source of the scent. I was standing in the yard in front of his mansion, sniffing the fragrance of rosemary. A man is carefully pruning next to me. I didn't know you were interested in flowers too, Doctor. Oh, I have learned some basic botany for professional reasons. Rosemary stems are ignited quickly. Too much pruning may harm the growth of new foliage, so it's best not to trim off more than half the stem's overall length of one at one time. And what you're doing is textbook pruning, Mr. Joaquin. These plants must have been well tended for the past 5 years. I see you're very proud of your erudition. I heard the complacency in your tone. Joaquin responded without even looking up. I raised an eyebrow. You seem to have distaste for Mr. Joaquin. I just hope you do your job properly, Doctor. I don't want to see Bronya worried and scared. It's your duty to find the murderer and put an end to these horrors. Are you sure you can afford wasting time here? In my defense, I am doing my job here right now. What? I abruptly approached Joaquin, clutched his wrist, and whispered to him. You know who the murderer is from the very beginning, don't you? I don't know what you're talking about, but I know Dr. Isaac should have trusted you with this case. Shouldn't have trusted you. His breathing was steady, and his pulse did not quicken, so I had to drop another bomb. She is here, isn't she? The second bomb was off and caused damage. Joaquin's body quivered. His hands seemed to have been frozen on the rosemary stems. I could tell he was trying hard to calm himself down. I don't understand. I don't understand what you said, Doctor, but you're making me uncomfortable. It's all right. All the pulse will clear up soon. I let go of his wrist and took a look at my watch. It's about time. Come with me, please. Let's settle this matter once and for all. Okay, using Fallen Rosemary. When I stepped into the hall, everyone was present except Hua and the bedridden Zora. Doctor, I've gathered everyone here as you requested. Thank you, Dr. Einstein. I scanned around, passing through everyone's face before I clear my throat. Hey, is it true you found the murderer, except expert Snoop? Well, Dr. Tesla, how about you call me something else? Whatever. Stop holding up and just tell us who it is. Ah, yes, the big reveal. Hold on. Kind of rubbing my eye on this one. Sure, the conclusion is Grey Serpent killed Miss Joyce, but he was not responsible for the other three murders. And I presume it's something among us then. Let me just restart that. And I presume it is someone among us then, Doctor. Yes, but we'll get to that part later. First, let's look at how Mr. Joyce was murdered. After all, this is the very reason I'm here now, Dr. Einstein. May I? As Dr. Einstein nodded in consent, I remembered what I was going to say in my head. It all started 5 years ago, if not any earlier. Mr. Joyce had 2 lineal descendants. One is Joey, the other one went missing years ago. Let's call the other one Omega 2. 5 years ago, the catastrophic event hit St. Fountain, and Lab 42 came for relief. This is just an appearance. What Miss Joyce truly wished to find out was the test that caused the disaster and Omega 2. Every sign leads to the fact that the high-ups of the church had a hand in the tests, but no record was left. Naturally, according to Raven, nor of the church was directly involved. Tests were led by Jackal. Grey Serpent was a material supplier. Raven handled the delivery of materials. Oh, what a team they make. Wait, what do you mean by materials? I think you know Jackal better than me. It wasn't the first time we heard of meddle with human subjects. That's ridiculous. If you're taking a lot of human subjects, how could you get away with unwanted attention? I believe you noticed Dr. Tesla. Back then in St. Fountain, there was a place to take in orphans legitimately. Joaquin, is it true? You imagine the church just for this atrocious business? Tesla's anger silenced the whole hall. Everyone held their breath and looked into the same person. Joaquin pursed his lips and slowly closed his eyes. Dr. Tesla, it might be a mistake. Miss Joaquin, I know. It is indeed a mistake. I asked Raymond about Miss Joaquin's role in the tests. She told me he was kept in the dark all along, right until the city was turned into ruins. But can we take her words for it? I believe yes. Raven confessed after she saw Miss Joyce's notes, which pointed out Miss Joyce was on the Grey Serpent. The test of human substance led to St. Fountain's fall. Once revealed, the truth will crucify everyone involved. So Grey Serpent acted first and killed Welt. This explains Grey Serpent's motive. After Jackal's death and Sora's kidnap, Raven became sure Grey Serpent wanted to silence everyone involved. She made the confession, knowing that she'd probably be dying in Grey Serpent's hands. I don't think she had any reason to lie. I was there too, and I believe she was telling the truth. No, wait. I'm not sure I'm following. Tests that caused the catastrophe and Grey Serpent's motive? I got this part. But Joaquin, you knew what it was after all these years. Why did you keep your mouth shut? What the hell is your plan? Dr. Tesla, I believe Mr. Joaquin will give us a convincing explanation himself. But before that, let's return to the case itself. The killer, Jackal, Grey Serpent, and Raven is still among us. What? But to follow what you just told us. Grey Serpent killed Welt, Jackal, and kidnapped Sora. Raven then killed and saved Sora at the cost of her life. That explains everything, right? It's a fine story, but I believe you left out something important. Rasha, the blood writing. Yes, went up to say that might sound far-fetched, so I did beginning with the two murders. Mr. Joyce after Miss Joyce. In normal circumstances, Dr. Tesla's explanation makes perfect sense. And not for the blood writings. Rasha means revenge in German. If it was Grey Serpent, he apparently didn't kill for revenge. On the other hand, if the writing was murder was merely distraction, then why didn't we see it near Miss Joyce's body? True. Dr. Tesla and Einstein said when they found Mr. Joyce, Grey Serpent was also there, with a knife on his back. But when they got Miss Joyce to the emergency room and returned, Grey Serpent was gone. I examined Grey Serpent's body firsthand, trying to get an answer. The backbone went to the heart, a fatal blow. And the wound had rotten so much that it's safe to say he died exactly around the time of Miss Joyce's death. Grey Serpent with a knife wound in the back through the heart. Well, this I remember through the heart in Chapter 90X by Rita. What? Which means the corpse rose from the dead. The corpse rose from the dead and killed Jackal, and Raven was finally put to rest. that indeed defies everything logical. To begin with, it's hard to imagine all three directly involved in the test should show up at the same found together. Huh, that is hardly a coincidence. The killings were for revenge. The three victims shared one thing in common: forsaking tests 5 years ago. So, of all the people here today, what has the best reason to see these three dead? All fell silent after my question. It was more than obvious. Doctor, that's a very sound reason, but I must say the conclusion is based on an unfounded presumption of guilt. Yes, Brian and I were victims of the horrendous event 5 years ago, but that doesn't mean we're guilty. And I'd like to remind you, both of us were by your side when the two murders took place. You're right. Blood doesn't make you a murderer. There are too many things about you that make no sense. You knew exactly what happened 5 years ago, but you never said anything to Mr. Joyce after joining Lab 42. You knew Jackal was responsible for the tragedy, but you still made her Brown's governess nonetheless. You knew more tragedies would follow if they got their hands on Mr. Joyce's legacy, but you still invited them here. Unless, of course, none would walk out of the murder manor alive in your plan. Utter gibberish. Say whatever you want. Everyone here, including yourself, is our alibi. As long as this stands, everything you said is just wild fantasy. I knew it would eventually come to this. I sighed and put the comlink prepared by Dr. Tesla close to my lips. Actions speak louder than words, and that's how I'm going to prove my theory. Well, how is preparation going on your side? I'm ready, Doctor. I turned to face the group with a grim look. I'm going to burn every rosemary in the yard. I found surprise in Dr. Tesla and Brian's faces. Before they spoke, someone's breakdown came faster. Stop it! You can't do this. Care to explain to me why? Dr. Einstein has given me her consent. You. Don't worry, Mr. Joaquin. Dr. Desmond told the church was burned down 5 years ago, but the Rosemaries survived. It might take a while some time, but unfortunately, we prepared enough fuel. It's time for us to find out whether Rosemary truly stands for eternity or not. Just bloody stop it. The hysterical scream came from a man of maturity and refinement. He soon regained calm in everyone's shocked gaze. I confess, I killed Grey Servant Jackal and Raven. What's going on? I'm lost here. I'll leave the details to the murderer himself. And before that, I'm afraid we have to temporarily restrain your freedom, Mr. Joaquin. Before I finish my words, while I come out of hiding, I slowly approach Joaquin. It's a trap. A bitter smile floated up Joaquin's face. To everyone's surprise, someone small stepped forward in front of him. Don't touch him. Bronya. Miss Sychek, I know how you feel. Shut up. You know nothing about him. Or us. All this is my plan. My revenge. This is only the beginning. Okay, so I'm taking on Dark Bronya. How? Just quit it, Miss Bronya. Your enemies are all gone. You can stop now, Bronya. No, I can't stop. You don't understand. I used to be very grateful to the Great Serpent, who brought me, a lowly child soldier, back from the battlefield. In the church, I met Sally and Joey, my beloved little sister and brother. For the first time in my life, I felt there was something worth cherishing in the world. But that woman named Jackal, she was making modifications to all the orphans in the name of treatment. I knew something wasn't right, so I started my own investigation. I thought I'd been doing it secretly, but they were still alerted. Raven and Grey Serpent somehow knew my plan to confront Sensei, so they pushed me down the stairs. When I woke up again, I'd already been sent to one of the Institute's hospitals outside St. Fountain. I tried so many times to leave. I wanted to return to St. Fountain to take Sailor and Joy away, but at that time, I hadn't recovered from my leg injury, so all my escapes failed. One day, I read in the newspaper that the cataclysm occurred in St. Fountain had become a dead city, Bronia. Over the years, I've done many investigations with all resources I could possibly access. I even used my bequeathment to lure my enemies. Project Pseudo-Herisher. This was the name of the experiment. It was to create powerful pseudo-herishers by modifying the copies of the first Herisher well, Joyce. How'd you know about all this, Bronya? They did these human experiments on the orphans, purely out of their sick craving for powers. In the end, the project failed. St. Fountain was ruined. My little brother became a nameless monster who killed our sister. The Phantom of St. Fountain's Omega 2? They all deserve to die. So I used Great Serpent to kill Jackal, so I didn't have to get her evil blood on my hands. Great Serpent was next. His first death was an accident, but I didn't want to let him get off. I wanted to let him off easily. I was right. Raven once mentioned she was also orphaned, taken in by Great Serpent. It was him who trained her to be a mercenary. Second eruption. So I controlled Great Serpent to take Sora to have him killed again by its own pupil. As for Raven, she was ridiculously naive as a merciless mercenary. After everything she had done, she started to adopt orphans all of a sudden. Sora, everyone Nagazora. I couldn't stop laughing when I first heard about that. Trying to go straight and make amends, huh? No way. Bad people just die alone in the shadows. So you controlled Sora to kill her. You're indeed incisive, Doctor. The bitterness of being killed by someone she cared and protected. She must taste it, just like my sister did. I should have thought of this earlier. I thought the merciless avenger who had been hiding in the dark was Joaquin, but I didn't know. He had been holding such violent hatred. Anyway, this should be the end of your revenge. Your enemies are all gone. The end? No, Doctor. Do you really think my revenge is complete after I kill the three pawns? Schicksal, the Institute. I know his behemoth is behind all this. When first I realized Schicksal was behind the project, I started one day to erase its entire existence from the world. Reminds me of Saren. I opened my mouth but failed to say anything. My usual calmness has been overwhelmed by Brony's deep resentment. Her obsession with revenge is too intense to be eased by a sense of justice. So I can't stop now. Brony gave a cruel smile. She reached out a hand and gently stroked Joaquin's cheek. You'll protect me, right, Joffrey? What? Yes, Bronya, my dear big sister. Joaquin has a calm look on his face, but I somehow see a trace of craziness on it. Next moment, deafening roar. A fierce roar came from nowhere. What the? A hideous monster emerged out of thin air behind Bronya and Joaquin. And the next second, the monster took Bronya and Joaquin and vanished. We all know the monster's name, but only Dr. Tessa came came back to senses from the shock and said it out loud. It was a phantom of St. Fountain. It was a phantom of St. Fountain. Alright. Alright. Next we're having Secret. Joffrey. Joaquin's only a 2. I figured out instantly. Joffrey was that Brony just mentioned. It's not the timid little boy who falls around Dr. Einstein, but make it 2. Joaquin was only 2. Then what is that phantom? Doctor! All woke me up from my contemplation. What should we do now, Doctor? We have no device or techniques to track down that phantom. Don't worry about it, Dr. Einstein. It's Brian's and Joaquin. It's Brian and Joaquin we should track, not the phantom. Before I assembled here, I borrowed a tracking device from Dr. Tesla, managed to stick it on Joaquin's coat. Ah, was it when you were in the yard? I knew back then that the phantom would come. You knew back then that the phantom would come? Of course not. I'm not a psychic. I was taking precautions to prevent them from running away. The real problem is, you don't have weapons or measures that could hurt the phantom. Even if we could track down Brony and Joaquin, with the phantom around, we couldn't be able to bring them back. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. I've been analyzing the data we collected from the phantom after our encounter with it. The analysis went well, and I made this device based on the results. It can interfere with quantum states. I think it will effectively hurt the phantom if we activate it in battle. Let's set off. Okay. Oh, this is Triple S, Iris of the Dreams, all full leveled, except I wish this was Iris of Helheim. Oh well. Beggars can't be choosers. Plus, it's right up. I'll be able to handle it pretty easily. St. Franton Railway Station. The only link the city has with the outside world. We twist amidst the void. 2 people and a monster emerged. Thank you, Mr. Joaquin. Sorry if this is all my fault. No, Joffrey. Condor is every bit as good as his name, and we were caught off guard by his cheap shot. I wonder how he came to know about the Rosemary secret. Maybe not on his own, but with some help from Sele. Enough! I'm telling you, let's repeat. She is dead. Whatever it is in the flowers is not her. But if she was, she'd come to me long ago. What should we do now? Leave St. Fountain and lay low before the time is right for our next move. They all pay with their blood. The only thing left for us to do is leave. I believe we still have some unsettled business here, Miss Sidechick. Who was there? Whew. Made it. Never thought Dr. Tesla's wild driving would actually do some good one day. Miss Sidechick, come with us, please. No way you can look at the phantom. Why? Sun thought of something and began to search herself. Failed to find what she looked for, she tugged Joaquin over and finally found a red dot on the inside of his sleeve. Another cheap shot. Whatever works. Prepare to transfer. However, this time the phantom could not just vanish into thin air with the 2 like the last time. It let out a scream of puzzlement and confusion. After all this time, you still think we're unable to develop any countermeasures? Huh. Checkmate, Sidecheck. Oh, it's Tintaloo. core. Without the protection of the quantum state, the Phantom finally fell down under our overwhelming attacks. Its physical composition is very unstable. It might still come back to life if we don't annihilate it now. But I know what you're worried about, Hua, but this Phantom is not Omega-2. It's nothing but a Honkai beast. If Miss Fuhua didn't have the heart to end his life, leave the dirty work to me then. Irene brushed past his razor deadly scythe. The Phantom under the scythe was like a wounded beast in a trap, awaiting its doom. Sensei! The scream was heard, along with the sound of metal clashing together. Broiner's shield was knocked over by Irene's giant scythe. Sensei? My son thought of a detail of the intel Hua told me. It was when they first met the Phantom. When Joaquin was shielding Broiner with himself, the Phantom suddenly stopped his attack and disappeared. Turns out when Broiner carried out Sensei, she was actually calling this hideous monster rather than Joaquin. Stop, Irene! I shot at the last second. To my surprise, Irene hurriedly held her scythe, as if it was what she had expected. Hey, expert Snoop, didn't you hear what I just said? Doctor, what is going on? It's unbelievable. I thought the serial number and grave service undead corpse were already uncanny. But there's actually something even more unexpected. I believe this Phantom is real Joaquin, the sensei and father of the orphans, before the cataclysm. Okay. We got one more for the finale. You saw it through after all. Rolling slowly hobbled over to us, leaning on Joaquin. You're right. This Phantom is Joaquin. He was our sensei 5 years ago. What? I have a question, Omega-2. No, Mr. Joffrey. I remember Miss Bronia was mentioned that the failed experiment turned into a mindless monster 5 years ago. Yes, though I don't remember saying anything about that experience. I saw the horrible memories stored in this body. Seve, my big sister, was killed by me. Then how did you get into this body? It seems more like a soul swap, perhaps. I don't know. I really don't. That's why I gave you all of Sensei's memories, experiences, and knowledge, except for the memory of the soul swap. All I could remember about it was a promise that Sensei made to Seve before she died. Promise? He promised to let me die as a human, even means he may have to exchange his soul with the devil. I shouldn't say as a scientist, but this paranormal phenomenon seems to clearly make sense when devils are involved. Doctor, we've answered your question, so please answer our question exchange. As long as I have the answer. I'd like to know how to find out about the secret of Rosemary. Find out? You've overestimated me, Miss Braun. If your sister hadn't left me those hints, I never thought fluorescence could be used as a medium of procession. Hold on. What are you two talking about? In the mansion, I played some tricks to make the murderer confess, sparked off a series of unexpected events. But I haven't explained to you about the kind of magic they've used to control Great Servant's dead body and make the murders happen. First devils, now magic? Am I still in the real world? They might be the same thing, I think. What does that mean? I once said there was much something paradoxical about the serial murder. The word Rasha, written with blood. It's true that in many cases the murderers intentionally left messages at the crime scenes to display their will. in this case, the word actually made the Grey Serpent murder all the insiders of the experiment to cover for himself, the story less credible. So it occurred to me, maybe the one who wrote the word was trying to reveal the real motive of the murderer. And what happened next bore out my assumption. When I was visiting Sora, I fell into a dream, in which I became a strange little girl. Though her eyes saw what happened in a certain lab before the cataclysm happened, I saw. And in the end of the dream, I heard the girl humming a certain poem. The rose is red, the violet is blue. Mary is sweet, and so are you. The rose is red and Mary is blue. We were deceived, and so are you. Ah, it's... Yes, the same poem left on Miss Joyce's desk at his death scene. I was finally sure that the girl in my dream was real, and she had been trying to send messages to us. And obviously, Miss Joyce had also met this girl before. He mentioned about her in the notes that I found in this room. So it occurred to me, maybe this girl was trying to tell us more. In fact, when I was in the dream, Irene, Einstein, and Sora all saw that I walked to the window, opened it, and started to mutter to myself. If that behavior was also a hint, the girl must have some sort of ability to control people's bodies in a dream. Crazy it may sound, it could explain all the illogical aspects of this case, such as, Dr. Einstein, I remember you told me that you heard Mr. Joyce talk to someone on the phone before he was killed. Yes, I assumed that because I only heard his voice as the conversation proceeded. What if Mr. Joyce was in a state similar to the one I was in? He could be talking to the air just like I did. It is possible. I remember Miss Borney mentioned in her confession that Mr. Joyce's death was an accident. So I think it was because of Mr. Joyce's unconsciousness that Grey Serpent easily murdered him. And then, the girl controlled Mr. Joyce's body to give Grey Serpent an unexpected stab in the back, and controlled Grey Serpent's body until he was seen. Your imagining is impressive. You're a natural novelist. An ordinary detective would have been trapped in common sense. But he managed to break free, and even did devise a method of trickery to verify your wild hypothesis. Well, at that time, I believe making you think I was going to burn down the flowers was the easiest way to reveal the uncanny truth. But what you just explained doesn't have anything to do with Rosemary. Oh, about that. It was actually also a hint from the girl. I told her she controlled me to open the window. So after I woke up from the dream, I looked out of the window and saw nothing but a yard full of rosemary, which reminded me of the first time I fell into a dream about the girl. It was when I was examining Jackal's corpse. I smelled a pleasant floral scent coming from Joaquin, who was standing next to me. Then I suddenly realized I knew that scent. I smelled it several times. In Miss Joyce's room, on Grey Serpent's rotting body, and on Sora, whom I visited after Raven's death. I see. That's how you knew Raven was killed by that possessed Sora. Not just that. The angle of the incision in Raven's throat also suggests the murderer was much shorter than her. And the highlighted scarlet word in the wall also agree with this conjecture. On top of all this, I found a familiar face in the role of the cataclysm victims that I borrowed from Dr. Einstein. The girl who made me see what would happen in his lab 5 years ago must be someone from the orphanage, and I found her. Her name was Sele Valeri, who was Zychek's little sister and best friend in the orphanage. Thank you for elaborating, Doctor. But I know the girl hiding in Rosemary's scent is my sister Sele. If it really was her, the writer should reveal my plan to heal Wells, assisting me with my revenge. I see you still understood. It's certainly because she loves her sister and little brother deeply, so she's been helping them, while still hoping someone would find out and rescue them from the gory path of revenge. Maybe you're right, Doctor. Brony opened her hand. There's a glowing mauve bloom in her palm. It's Rosemary, the flower of memories. Why? I'd rather appear in other people's dreams than coming to me. If Doctor was right, that's how you really feel. Brony hesitated no more. She raised Rosemary and gently kissed the delicate petals. Then show me. Oh, excuse me. A strong fragrance diffused like a night breeze as Rosemary and Brony's hand dissolved into red and black hues. For a moment, I assumed to see a red figure silently emerge behind Brony. She embraced Brony's slender neck, then their figures overlapped. Red figure, so Veliona? Yeah, it's Veliona. That's Stygian Nymph. This is Stygian Nymph. I recognize it anywhere. Where is she? There she is. Okay, I gotta... It's all over. She was exhausted. She could feel the raging fury that used to control her faded gradually and vanished at last. The rosemary hand, which was supposed to bloom eternally, had withered and became hideous Sarah remains. So this is how it viewed me. By helping me vent my anger until we were both hurt and exhausted. So this is what awaits at the end of Path of Revenge, isn't it? Ooh. Oh, that look. Oh, I gotta hide this. Oh my god. It's been a while since I've seen this, but oh man. Brony's look and she's crying. Oh god. The rain kept pouring down. Brony weakly looked up. Her eyes widened in surprise. Oh my god. Gotta hide this. Oh god, it's silly. Oh. Sorry, I'm wiping my eyes. Saw a clear, vivid figure. It's her friend, her sister, and her family. For so many years, she has been treating this figure as just a figment, a phantom, and a tool for revenge. Because the phantom never smiled or spoke to her, or kept her warm with the cold name like Sally used to. And she just realized Sally has always been with her. She was blinded by the intense hatred in her mind. She knows it's Sally, because only Sally would shed sorrowful tears for her. Sally. Sally. Bronya. Joey. I've known this all along, because I've been looking for the Rosemary and our memories. They'll say they cannot talk to us. She has always been with us. Ah. I'm sorry, Bronya. Rather than take revenge, I want 3 of us together. Joey. Sally. Tears ran down her cheeks for the first time since she indulged herself in the overwhelming desire for vengeance. She felt her real emotions, Then she saw an unreal image. In bright white light, a gentle, cultivated man and a girl in blue hardly hand in hand. The man looked back and waved at her with a comforting smile, as if he just perceived her gaze. Take care, dear Bronya. They said their farewell and faded away in the white light. When she came back to her senses, she found the Sierra flower remains in her hand, and gone with the wind. And that monster's phantom was also gone. She finally stared to wail miserably. Sorry, I can't do a good wail. Case closed, Doctor. Yeah, all they left to do is deal with the two culprits. It was not the detective's job. Dr. Einstein, I think we should let Mr. Joyce decide. Huh. I did not object either. I didn't expect either twist in the end. How fascinating. You're making no sense, Doctor. Agreed. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's okay, Ein. Tesla, no need to cover for me now that I'm already exposed. A small figure emerged from the corner of the street. Obviously, he saw everything. He saw everything that just happened. Joey? It's Geoffrey Joyce. He now looks too solemn as a child, but I can see he's trying to give a friendly smile. I thought I'd been hiding well. Could you tell me when I gave myself away, Doctor? You have indeed hidden well, Mr. Joyce, but there have been a few subtle hints. The first one was the paradoxical aura you exuded when you gave testimony at Jacqueline's death scene. You weren't like a timid boy at all. I knew it. I'm a fan of your detective stories, and I've always wanted to say lines like that. So I got carried away. What really makes me realize that you're still alive is something more solid and intuitive feeling. What is it? The change in Dr. Einstein's attitude. History. Okay. The investigation once came to a dead end before Raven told us about the experiment, which provided a turnaround. Okay. And the reason why she told us was because we found the notes about this experiment engraved separately in your room. What's wrong with that? I checked your bookshelf on my first search in your room. The notes weren't there at that time. And under that circumstance, the way Dr. Einstein infuriated Raven was just too intentional. Well, I know I wasn't good at acting. I remember clear that when we first arrived, Dr. Einstein was loath to talk about the phantom and the cataclysm. Yet she provided me those key clues that could push the investigation forward. What via such a poor act? Such a dramatic change in our attitude could only be a result of someone's instruction. I can't think of anyone else in this manner that could order Dr. Einstein except for the deceased Mr. Joyce. I see. That's really impressive. Then what's with your situation? I wouldn't believe it if you told me you turned into a little boy for fun. That's probably not the case, but I really don't know why it happened. You've already just deduced the details of the murder. In fact, I don't remember anything about it. When I woke up again, I was already in this body. I have to ask, now that you're occupying this body, where is the original soul of this Omega-2? It doesn't exist. I'm so sorry, Doctor. I had Ein lie to you. There were indeed two of my copies, but there was only one Omega-2, which is Geoffrey Walking's body. And this body never woke up since it was made. Though those vital signs have been normal, the lack of soul still makes it defective. Anyway, I'm glad to see you're still alive, Mr. Joyce. I'm glad to meet you too, Dr. Conan Doyle. Walt then cast a glance at Bronya and Geoffrey and showed a trace of sadness. Mr. Joyce, you are my client. Now that betrayers have been identified, the rest is up to you to decide. I'd like to hear your suggestions, Doctor. I pondered for a moment, and then it said in a measured tone, There are a few cases that made me realize sometimes catching the culprits brings more pain than the very crimes. And now I've learned to be more prudent. If I had to choose, I'd rather deceive the rules for my conscience. I think so too. Sometimes one tragedy might lead to another, and this chain reaction may go on forever, which will eventually push everything and everyone into a hopeless abyss. Two whom already bear too much pain. I'm glad to see we are in agreement on this matter. My dear Hua, it's time for our return trip, if the train station has been blown up. Hua nodded. Her reticence on occasions like this have been quite comforting to me. Walt also expresses gratitude at Irene. I failed to figure out the relationship between them, after all. Alright, now for the interlude. Which I do remember correctly is just the captain waking up to Joyce announced that members of Lab 42 had received from Schicksal and allied with the North American branch of Schicksal to form a new anti-Honkai organism named Anti-Entropy. Yeah, pretty much explained in Honkai Operation Center Chapter 1. I didn't expect Miss Joyce would have made such a huge move after that incident. But she seemed to be different to the shocking news. I'm used to going where the wind blows. I prefer dealing with little cases rather than huge organizations and systems. Anyway, a rivalization to Schicksal sounded like the right place for Brony and Joffrey. I heard you just returned from a long journey. Did I tell you this? Yes, it seemed I was sent to the East region to take care of Raven's entrustment to me. Those orphans she adopted have been taken in by Anti-Entropy. I have a Miss Choice who will take good care of them. Anyway, though this case was solved, I still don't have a clue how the possession via floral scent and soul exchange happened. I didn't know you possessed. I didn't know you'd be so obsessed with the paranormal. Before the phantom vanished, I thought I saw a mirage for a moment. I saw Joaquin and Sally leading the white light. He looked back and waved his hand, as if he was thanking something. As if he was thanking someone. Sounds more like he was just waving goodbye. No. My intuition told me he was expressing gratitude to someone. And for a moment, you seemed to be giving them a wave, though you weren't facing them. Oh, I did? Are you sure? Of course. This serial murder happened in St. Fountain. Might be the most uncanny case that I could ever experience in my life. And the uncanny part is, the great serpent we saw wasn't really a great serpent. The phantom wasn't a phantom. Joaquin wasn't Joaquin. And even Joffrey wasn't really himself. Then it's possible that Irene Adler wasn't really Irene Adler. Conan Doyle wasn't the real Conan Doyle. Who are you? Who am I is not important. The real question is, who are you? Me? I'm... You have the answer, but something seems to be clenching your throat and preventing you from voicing them out. The people and incidents in your mind are real memories, but it felt as if you were browsing through an old album. Inside an isolated chamber, the next moment, you fell into endless darkness. Is she awake? No. He probably needs more time. I've already helped him find himself. As long as I have time for him to wake up. But 2 times of consciousness mapping here have added too many foreign perceptions and cognition to his mind. If this continues sooner or later, I know that, and he knows that too. But that's his choice. As for you, I find suspicious that you actually managed to infiltrate Hyperion. And seem to know everything about this guy. You're not like me or anyone else on this ship. I can feel it. To be more precise, you are more like him. Who are you? If I recall correctly, Miss Goldmane, we made a deal a long time ago. This helps prove my theory that Fallen Rosemary Rita is Chancellor Rita from Honkai Kingdoms. I take it back. You let me have my own little secret. Furtive woman. I told you that my name is Rita Roseweiss. That may not be the same Rita you used to know. I wouldn't refuse you ever feel like someone snuggling up to me. See, I think Fallen Rosemary Rita is Chancellor Rita from Honkai Kingdoms, but a different version of that person. You. I'll turn a blind eye to you for now, as a thank you for saving him. Sounds fair. If I ever find out about whatever you might be scheming to do on Hyperion, punish me however you like. I will. This bedroom is yours now. If he wakes up, tell him to meet me on the bridge when he feels better. I have a lot to say to him. Oh, I feel sorry for him. Did you hear that? She seems to have been out of shape. Please let me escape from reality for a while. You don't seem to be surprised seeing me here. I know you and me are same. I can feel that thing inside you. Conscious mapping is a complicated ability. You may want to stop using it. It synchronizes your consciousness and mirrors with the objects, which generates an unbearably fast info load. Whew, damn. Sorry. Oh, man. Other than Fallen Rosemary and any of her outfit, any of her battle suits, Rita just looks freaking gorgeous. Any increasing amount of cognition, these residues left in your mind will impair your self-awareness. Is that so? I did think I was that novice this time. If you don't remember myself, I wouldn't be here. So Rita, does that mean you? Oh, nothing. I just had a nostalgic dream when I was still hazy. I feel better now. I'm gonna go meet her on the bridge. What a reunion. So you don't recognize me at all. Classic Captain. He is always perspicacious, perceptive about anything except for his own business. But if I put on this dress for him, do you think he will recognize me, Loki? I think it makes for a nice outfit. Alright. Well, that fragment one, I'm going to go ahead and see it off screen. So, that's going to be it for now. Until next time, love Jazz, and thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves. Oh boy. Maybe space is learning out.